What's up, y'all? Good morning. It's Monday morning, and of course, we're going into stuff that I thought I was going to do. I think it was Saturday or Friday or whatever it was. I just didn't get around to that. Part of that is I want to say I was fighting off something, which I think I've successfully done for the most part. Not real sure on that. But another bigger, more significant part of it, I think, is just the process of having to digest and just simply process a lot of the things that have been revealed. And just over the last week, and by that I'm referring to what, at least as of, I believe, Thursday or Friday, is now Vince McMahon being under federal investigation. And, woo-wee! Oh, man. I'm going to start off by saying, back when he was forced to initially step down back in late 2022. Well, mid to late 2022, because Trips took over like around SummerSlam time, so there was that. But yeah, it was revealed back then that there was a lot going as far as like some hush money payments that were made by Vince McMahon without the companies knowing, by the way. And of course, and that's where this is really, really wild, that part was without company knowledge. Like, no one there knew about this somehow, which is even baffling as we get more into detail about these things. But, and just to be clear, I'm not going to go into full detail about this. I'm just basically offering my reaction to this situation as a whole, because for me, it's really, really odd. It's I gotta say, times have been tough for us all lately. I mean, I don't think that's really any secret whatsoever. But even for as tough as things may be, even for the insurmountable things that we may face on a daily basis, regardless of what they may be, in a case-by-case situation. I mean, we've all got our challenges one way or another. We've all got to face them. But yet, it's different when you put yourself into other people's shoes and you think about, some of the things that have happened, particularly when it comes to these women, that are actually going after Vince McMahon. And the funny thing about this is that this actually started off as a civil case. But now this might, he's under federal investigation, meaning this is going to likely go federal, not even just criminal. We're talking some really, really heavy shit here right now. But more than anything else, I think what I gotta say I find really, really significant about this is the fact that if I can be perfectly honest about this, I've stated my feelings before. Hell, I'll just come right out with it because I've said it plenty of times, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last time I say it, but I might have even said it in previous videos, but, it's a thing to where, for me personally, it's just gut-wrenching, to say the least. Mostly because I once had it to a point, and there's still part of me where this exists, but I had it to a point to where I definitively despised, and in a lot of ways that still exists, but I despised humanity for everything that it is, and for very good reason, and this is evidence of that, unfortunately. Now, keep in mind I've had to temper that significantly because, it's just wild having that exist within any fiber of your being whatsoever, much less every fiber, but, it's just crazy thinking about that because, it just goes to show, it's pretty bad. It's really, really bad if I've got to circle back around to that aspect of it, because I used to hear for a long time about how Vince was a genius and everything, and for a time there was a point where that actually was true, but just on the surface, just with the product as a whole from about the early 2000s up until really just, I want to say that point in 2022 when Triple H took over, the product has been, I don't want to call it overall horrendous, because there have been some good points. I mean, let's not try to be mistaken about that. I mean, we did get WrestleMania. I mean, we got a lot of different things that, in a lot of ways we were hoping to get. We got Mickie James as TNA Knockouts champion, as a participant in the Royal Rumble, and most recently Jordynne Grace also is TNA Knockouts champion in the Rumble this year. They've managed to get some really, really major signings in a Jade Cargill. Obviously bringing Cody Rhodes back a couple of years ago. I mean, so many things that they actually have done that have been good. And it's not even like the good doesn't outweigh the bad. It's just that the bad is significant enough to where you tend to sort of start overlooking the good at this point. And a prime example of that is one of the things that I heard over the weekend was that Lita was on Renee Paquette's podcast sometime in not all that long ago. I'm not really sure when they said it was, but either way, she talked about the live sex celebration when, I'm pretty sure this was fresh off of John Cena having dropped the title to Edge, as he was the first Mr. Money in the Bank to cash in and win the championship. And there was an awful lot of momentum going with that. And it's just really, really funny to me now, because a lot of things are starting to make sense. A lot of things that have unfolded in just the last few days alone, a lot of things are actually making sense. And I understand now, being able to connect the dots. And it makes perfect sense now that Edge, of course Adam Copeland, is now in AEW. It's just really, really, really funny to me now that I think about that aspect of it, because it's like he left because of creative differences, Clearly he knew what was going on. He knew what was up. He wanted to get away from this shit. And here we are. He's in AEW chasing after the TNT Championship. And, man, I mean, it really blows my mind. And this video is going to go a bit longer than I wanted to, because, like I said, this is what my weekend was like, trying to digest and process all of this, because it's just really, really wild. And I'm not even thinking about any of the sexual assault stuff, even though there's a lot of stuff that got brought up. I mean, there are apparently former wrestlers that, or at least one former wrestler that said she was coerced into giving Vince oral sex. Again, the shit that happened apparently in the office, the payouts, the situation with Miss Grant. Apparently, a therapist out in LA, if I recall correctly. Or maybe it was in Florida, I'm not... Oh, no, it was Boca Raton. Boca Raton, Florida. That's what it was. For some reason, I thought I heard California somewhere, although it probably happened there, too, for all we know. I mean, clearly at this point, Deshaun Watson has nothing on this man whatsoever. I mean, it's just really, really hilarious having come off of that in recent years, in the last couple of years, and now we got this hitting the surface all of a sudden. I mean, it's like, damn. But just getting back to that, getting back to just the mistreatment of product, talent, everything else in between and outside of that, you know? It's like, how was this dude not gone sooner, you know? And even more to that point, you got people talking about, you know, and here's actually, I'm going to take this another level. Think about The Last Dance, you know, particularly Will Perdue, and I'm going to paraphrase his part in this real quick. And this is, of course, him referring to Michael Jordan, of course, as a teammate, you know, and I'm paraphrasing because I'm probably not getting this all in the order that he said it, or even as accurately to what he said. I can't quote him accurately on this, unfortunately, but he basically referred to MJ as an asshole, a dictator, a tyrant, a bully. I mean, all sorts of those things. But apparently, in this particular case, Vince McMahon was all that and more. Like, that doesn't even scratch the surface, because, you know, and that's the thing, like, even some of the folks I've been listening to, there are folks that believe this is merely tip of the iceberg type shit, and I think they're right. I really think they're right about that, because at the end of the day, you have all these things that have been reported, all this that's out, and now, of course, Vince has resigned from TKO, stepped down, but then all of a sudden you have The Rock come in, and that was the thing. The Rock coming in, I'm pretty confident, was announced before any of this about Vince got out, before he even resigned, before there was anything about this pending lawsuit, before it got to even becoming a federal case or even being thought of as a federal case. The Rock taking over Vince's spot broke news first. So, there are definitely an awful lot of concerning aspects of this. I'm not going to go into any more about this. I'm just going to close this out by saying, you know, at this point, a lot of things are going to be really, really wild. And, oh, here's where I'm really going to end this. Here's where I really want to end this, because this is just something to where, I want to just really quickly call out all these folks that have been some really strong AEW haters out there. I'm calling y'all out right the fuck now. And the reason I'm doing that is simply because of the fact that y'all wanted to give Tony Khan all this shit about all these things, bringing in Ric Flair, and some of the other folks, the shit with Jericho and everything that affected the pay-per-view of that World's End. You know, and just how badly everything went with the reveal of the devil, you know. So many of us wanted to give him shit, myself included, don't get me wrong, but I'm not as strong about it as a lot of other folks are. But to those that are strong like this, here's something y'all need to really think about here. For as badly as Tony Khan literally shit the bed with World's End and the devil reveal, WWE is finding ways to shit the bed even worse. They're basically one-upping TK in shitting the bed by actually having The Rock take over Cody's main event spot at WrestleMania, which I want to talk about here, but in another video. But yeah, I just want y'all to think about that for a second. Either way, y'all know what it is. Like, share, subscribe. Get at me. Let me know what y'all think. I'll be back. Yeah.